My father is a damp villain, and my mother is an evildoer. After their union, they each pursue their own ambitions, yet both hold a deep affection for me. On my 5th birthday, I plan to donate teddy bears to an orphanage. My parents sensed something amiss. Surely, our daughter cannot be a naive and innocent protagonist? This would tarnish our family's reputation. My mother removed her sunglasses, revealing her striking features. This simply will not do. Protagonists cannot compare to villains. My father, seated in his silvery wheelchair, wore a somber expression. This is a world rife with torment. The protagonist is most likely to have both parents imprisoned. And then, my mother covered my ears, her brows furrowing. Then she would end up in a nightclub, having a one-night stand with the male lead, only to flee with a child, returning home 3 years later to face the wrath of a malevolent female antagonist. She glanced at her diamond-studded nails. And it doesn't stop there. When I was a villain, the male and female leads would see me and flee in terror. I carefully pried her fingers apart, gazing up at her with confusion. Ms. Liu, will you and Mr. Pei be going to prison? The cartoons say only bad people go there. My parents are the type who prioritize wealth above all, relishing the sound of me addressing them by their titles at home. They exchanged a knowing glance. No. Qingxing cannot become a foolish and innocent protagonist. We must correct her path before it strays. I nestled the teddy bear in my father's embrace, and a glimmer of warmth flickered in his cold gaze. Lulichi, please rectify the financial issues within your company. My mother snapped back to attention, hastily dialing her trusted aide, speaking rapidly for over 10 minutes before ending the call. She placed a hand on her chest. Had I delayed even a second, a hidden issue could have erupted within the company. Our daughter is truly a lucky star. We must never let our guard down in such times. Our daughter possesses excellence in all aspects: morality, intellect, physical prowess, aesthetics, and diligence, and she still wishes to visit the orphanage. Pei Jiu. Our businesses are intricately linked for our daughter's sake. Bankruptcy is not an option for anyone. 2. I do not comprehend the source of my parents' anxiety, shaking my toy bear in bewilderment with wide eyes. Is anyone listening? My teacher remarked that the children in the orphanage are quite unfortunate. I wish to donate my toys to them. My mother tilted her head, her seaweed-like, softly curled black hair cascading before me as she enveloped me in her embrace, her voice tinged with affection. My precious darling, why must you be so kind? Wouldn't it be better to be a little villain? My father, seated in a wheelchair, manifested a fleeting shadow of gloom upon his face. His chair automatically maneuvered in front of me. Qingxing, remember, apart from your father and mother, you cannot trust anyone else who shows you kindness. I stood there, momentarily stunned, my voice laced with confusion, but the teacher said there are many good people in the world. I wish to be someone who is kind to others so that everyone will like me. My mother let out a frustrated groan. What nonsense. Your father's legs were crippled because he once trusted a so-called good person, the heroine of the story. My father's thin lips were tightly pressed, his gaze cast downward. My mother scoffed, taking me away. I don't understand what was so special about that former heroine who could only feign vulnerability to seek rescue. Why did everyone believe her? The plush bed was filled with my toys. Sensing my mother's discontent, I timidly placed each toy into her arms. Mama, I won't go to the orphanage anymore. If being good means hurting people like Dad, I won't be good. My mother abruptly looked up, her brows furrowing, her tone conflicted. Qingxing, let me think about it. She planted a gentle kiss on my forehead, exchanged goodnights with me, and softly closed the door behind her. That night, I struggled to find sleep. 3. Qingxing, wake up and freshen up. Dad will take us to the orphanage. I heard my mother's voice, lacking enthusiasm, which jolted me from bed. 5 minutes. I'll be ready soon. Clad in a little yellow hat and carrying a bulging backpack, I climbed into the back seat of the Rolls-Royce. The scenery along the way was refreshing. I curiously gazed out the window, and soon we arrived at our destination. Before the dilapidated orphanage stood a wrought iron gate. Several bodyguards encircled our family, with assistants trailing behind, transporting 2 boxes of my unused toys. 2 grimy-faced little girls dashed through the crowd to stand before me. You are so beautiful. Can you stay here with us? My mother stepped in front of me, disdainfully pulling the 2 girls away. She then turned to me, brushing off the dust from my clothes. Qingxing, if you encounter a dirty little boy who has been beaten and bloodied, do not show him any pity. I glanced at my father. His lips were tightly pressed, and he remained silent. Why? If someone is in trouble, shouldn't I help them? A thought struck me, and I pulled out a thick red envelope from my pocket. Raising it high, I have money. I can hire a doctor to help him. My father lowered his gaze. His cold eyes fixed on me for a long moment before he spoke slowly. The human heart is inscrutable. I was perplexed, stammering my inquiry. This advanced vocabulary hasn't he been taught by the teacher yet. What does it mean? For if you rescue a dirty little boy like that, he will repay your kindness with malice, growing up to bully your childhood friend, and even imprison your freedom, preventing you from seeing your parents. I recalled the gentle neighbor boy next door, and looked back at my parents' radiant, striking faces, shaking my head vehemently. No way. I want to rescue him. I refused to help, even at the cost of my life. As the sun set, I distributed the toys I brought to every child in the orphanage. Just as I was about to take my parents' hands and leave, a boy and girl, both disheveled, blocked my path. The little girl thrust a cheap green crystal bracelet into my palm. This is my mother's keepsake. I want to give it to you to be friends. I stood frozen. My father's wheelchair had already rolled onto the vehicle, and my mother sat in the back seat, urging me to hurry home. Could one simply part with their mother's keepsake for the sake of friendship? I turned to glance at my mother's flamboyant face as she donned her sunglasses. I returned the crystal bracelet to the little girl, shaking my head. You should keep this. I have many bracelets. Then I removed my diamond-studded bracelet and gave it to her. Your bracelet is precious to you. I'll give you mine instead. I have plenty of friends, so I don't need to make new ones. I might forget their names if I have too many. The little girl's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and a strange look flickered across her face, a gaze I had only seen in dramas when villains were humiliated. A chill ran down my spine. The dirty little boy glared at me with fury and shoved me. If you humiliate my sister again, I want to let you off. He took the girl's hand and fled, leaving me standing there in shock. The boy's head bleeding profusely. 5. I placed the red envelope on the concrete ground, turned, and climbed into the car, leaning absent-mindedly against my mother. She was engaged in casual conversation with my father. Did you see that bracelet just now? Yes. If I recall correctly, it belonged to the former heroine. She has passed away. Indeed. Fortunately, I wore my sunglasses in time. Otherwise, dropping a little pearl would have drawn everyone's attention. How could that child end up in the orphanage? I don't know.
Hey, you.
You don't actually want to adopt those two little rascals, do you?
No.
They continued their chatter, and I felt drowsy, on the verge of sleep. Just before losing consciousness, I heard my mother's voice grow excited. Through my meticulous reasoning, it seems our daughter has taken on the script of a tormented heroine. That little dirty boy will surely develop a crush on her and become infatuated with her later on, constantly vying for her attention. My father's cold, deep voice floated over. Based on experience, Qingxing will encounter that boy in high school. He will be involved in the underworld while consistently ranking first in his class. My mother's voice quickened, eagerly agreeing. That little rascal will have to save the damsel in distress, knocking out the teeth of the delinquents who harass our daughter behind the school gate. No. We must enroll Qingxing in Muay Thai and Taekwondo, and she must not neglect strength training and fitness regimens. My mother's predictions proved accurate. Before the second year of high school, I had been living a charmed life as a top-tier rich girl. All changes began on the very first day of the second year. A pair of fraternal twins, a brother and sister named Xu Yuan and Xu He, transferred to our class. Xu Yuan wore a necklace around her neck, while Xu He sported a bracelet on his wrist. I recognized that their necklace and bracelet were crafted from the very ones I had given away in my childhood, reassembled into two new adornments. When Xu Yuan spotted me, her eyes glimmered slightly. May I sit next to you? 6. Xu He frowned. Sister. Don't sit too close to her. She has a spoiled rich girl attitude. I was still seated, yet Xu He began to fabricate tales about me. As if I were deaf. Yes, I do possess a spoiled rich girl attitude. You can sit next to me, and if you help me run errands and bring me lunch, I'll casually sprinkle some money on you. Provoked by my words, Xu He tossed his shoulder bag aside and slid into the seat beside me, his earlobes tinged with pink. Sister, you should sit in front of me. Xu Yuan had transformed completely from her childhood disheveled self. With sleek, straight black hair and delicate, fair fingers, she clearly had been well cared for. As for Xu He, my gaze fell upon the myriad of deep and shallow scars on his muscular arms, indicating a history of brawling. My father was correct. Xu He was secretly involved in the underworld, earning money to support his family through illicit means. What are you staring at? Xu He's voice was cool. How are your grades? I felt a twinge of worry. If my father's prediction held true, and Xu He was indeed the male lead, He would likely sleep through classes and still come out on top in exams, which would be a disgrace for us diligent students who barely maintained our positions in the top 10 through hard work and endless practice. He raised his brow, unwilling to acknowledge my presence. He buried his arms beneath his head and drifted into slumber. A complex expression crossed my face. I was the naive and sweet heroine, while he embodied the stoic and cunning male lead. The unfolding of events was precisely as my parents had predicted. I was truly at a loss. Upon returning home on Friday, I threw myself into my mother's embrace. Mom, how does one become a wicked female antagonist? My mother, cradling a cup of milk, ambled around the hall before sitting beside my father. Mr. Pei, our daughter desires to transition into the role of a villainess. What are your thoughts? I gazed at him with earnest sincerity. Help me, for the weight of destiny is overwhelming, and I fear I cannot endure it. Over the years, my father's mobility had improved significantly. He could now manage to stand with the aid of a cane. I had established a technology company focused on researching supernatural phenomena. My mother, intrigued, inquired, such as? The room fell silent. My father aspired to defy the heavens. He patted my shoulder and declared, Xing, from now on, learn from your mother how to transform your persona. Endeavor to become the wicked female antagonist, ensuring the male lead does not fall for you. Could it truly be that simple to prevent He from loving me? Chu Yuan suffered from an immune system disorder, rendering her gastrointestinal tract more delicate than that of an average person. Thus she could not dine at the school cafeteria. Every day, He prepared meals for her, and they would sit together at their desks to eat. When the lunch bell rang, all the students rushed out of the classroom. I leisurely approached Chu Yuan's seat. What are you having? My mother had personally imparted to me the first rule of being a villainess: cast aside civility and embrace a life devoid of boundaries. I leaned over, peering into Chu Yuan's lunchbox, prompting her to glance at He for help before timidly responding, salad. I continued to stare intently at her meal, and she softly asked, would you like to try some? That was precisely the invitation I awaited. I retrieved my own lunchbox from the table and poured Chu Yuan's fresh salad into mine. He abruptly stood up. Lu Qingxing. He gritted his teeth. Do not overstep. My sister has a stomach ailment. I savored a bite of the sweet and sour tomato, narrowing my eyes in delight. So, you're a brotherly protector. I find that rather unappealing. He clenched his fists, his eyes narrowing. Who do you think you are? I pushed the untouched lunchbox of He towards Chu Yuan. Your brother seems uninterested in food. You should help him finish. He's voice turned icy as he seized my fork, slamming my lunchbox shut. Do you not realize how lacking in boundaries you are? I grinned playfully. You acknowledge my status as a young lady, so why not indulge me? Witnessing He's face darken with ire brought me immense satisfaction. Why had no one informed me that being a wicked female antagonist could be so exhilarating? He furiously dragged his chair away, his expression stormy as he exited the classroom.
Clearly, he loathed me.
After evening study, I packed my backpack and left the classroom, only for Chu Yuan to chase after me, her voice timid.
Do you enjoy the meals made by He? Iskin de la hair.
She quickly clarified. I merely wish to befriend you. To be honest, from the first time I met you as a child, I felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity and wanted us to become good friends. I reached out to tuck a loose strand of hair behind Chu Yuan's ear, causing her to shut her eyes in fear. Did she think I would strike her? I chuckled softly, smoothing her hair. Sweet and sour ribs, mango sago, and omuris. Remember to remind He to prepare them well tomorrow. Chu Yuan's eyes sparkled as she smiled brightly. Okay. Today, the driver had taken a day off, so I hailed a taxi home. As a light rain began to fall, I stood at the end of the alley, waiting for over 10 minutes. Yet the ride had yet to arrive. Suddenly, a van halted before me, and a rotund man with a protruding belly opened the door. Hey there, little beauty. Where are you headed? I'll give you a free ride. I shot him a glance and took a few steps back.
My ride is on its way.
The portly man advanced, attempting to grab me, but a cleaner hurried over from a distance, wielding a broom. The young lady doesn't want to ride. Don't pressure her. I swiftly moved behind the cleaner, while the rotund man scrutinized me for a moment before silently retreating into his van and driving away.
Thank you, sir.
Please have your family come to pick you up. That man clearly looked like a trafficker. I've seen that vehicle loitering around here for a while. I called my father, who dispatched a bodyguard to fetch me. It would still take at least 20 minutes. I headed in the direction of my studies, but that van reappeared in my peripheral vision, now with an additional passenger in the front seat. The vehicle stopped behind me, and both doors swung open simultaneously, sending a chill of sweat down my back. The cleaner sprinted towards me, shouting as he shielded me. The van swiftly closed its doors and left. My legs felt weak, and the cleaner tightened his grip on the broom, urging me to stand. "This young student, let me escort you part of the way to prevent that trafficker from pursuing you." The path to the school entrance required traversing a dimly lit alley. The summer stench emanating from the cleaner's attire invaded my nostrils as he drew nearer, his rough hands brushing against my waist. Sounds of a scuffle echoed from within the alley. I found myself in a precarious position. The dim glow of the copper lamp illuminated a group engaged in a brawl. I suppressed my rising panic and pressed onward. A young man with his hands bandaged bore blood at the corner of his mouth, his sinister gaze locking onto mine. "Chu, he reached for me." My voice trembled as I pointed at the cleaner. The injured boy furrowed his brow, rising amidst the astonished onlookers. "Which hand?" Before I could respond, Chu produced a finger claw from his pocket and charged forward, knocking the cleaner's teeth out. The cleaner spat in frustration, scrambling away. The boy who had just been assaulted suddenly retaliated against others. The bystanders were momentarily frozen, and Chu swiftly took down those who had attacked him. He wiped the blood from his lip and retrieved his phone. A payment record popped up on the screen. Chuhi's tone was devoid of warmth. "The bill is settled. I won't be playing with you any longer." I stood there, dumbfounded, as Chuhi's gaze bore into me. "Are you not leaving?" Chuhi escorted me back to the school entrance, and after a while, a group of bodyguards appeared, surrounding me to escort me to the car. In the rear-view mirror, Chuhi's figure shrank, and suddenly, he dropped to one knee, struggling with pain before collapsing. "Stop the car. Take him to the hospital first." Chu Yuan requested 3 days off for Chuhi. What good does crying do? Chu Yuan's eyes were red-rimmed, and she appeared quite listless, her complexion pale. She rested her head on the desk, burdened with guilt. "It's all my fault. I require 200,000 for surgery. And, he fought in the underground matches for me." I felt conflicted. In this moment, maintaining the persona of a naive heroine, I should generously offer the funds for Chu Yuan's surgery. Such an act would surely endear me to the siblings, steering the plot towards a romantic development. However, my parents had insisted that a naive heroine had no future, destined to face bitter fruits. Only by embodying a wicked female antagonist could I continue to relish a life of privilege and luxury. I needed to ensure that the siblings despised me while discreetly aiding them.
Chu, he can work for me.
Chu Yuan looked up in confusion upon hearing my suggestion. Chu, he can be my cook, bodyguard, errand runner, and help me with exam preparations. What do you think of a monthly salary of 200,000? Chu Yuan effectively sold her brother to me. During the days Chu spent in the hospital, I refrained from visiting him, my mind preoccupied with how to recoup the 20,000. No one would fall in love with the boss. They only plotted against them. Chuhi's leg injury had not yet healed, and I ordered him to run errands 8 times. "I need a yogurt. It must be delivered within 5 minutes. Or I will deduct your pay. Move the desk. I want to sit in the last row this week." Chuhi could no longer tolerate the situation. "Why do you have a trash can under your desk if you still insist on spitting grape seeds into my palm?" With a grape in my left hand and a math assignment in my right, I remained oblivious to my surroundings. "Your sister sold you to me," I remarked. Chuhi took a deep breath, sitting silently in his seat, his demeanor cold and indifferent. Noticing his irritation, I resolved to stoke the flames, aiming to make him utterly detest me. Such terrible service. "Can't you endure a little hardship?" Chuhi abruptly stood up and strode towards the classroom exit, clearly unable to tolerate my presence for another moment. "Where do you think you're going?" I called after him. He halted, his shoulders rising and falling with heavy breaths. Gritting his teeth, "Throw away the grape skins." The college entrance examination loomed near. My mother was deeply concerned. According to the melodramatic script of our previous generation, the male and female leads are bound to kiss upon turning 18. My father adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. "Has any suspicious girl appeared around Chu lately?" I was taken aback. Chu had been my devoted servant at school. As for outside, I had no knowledge. "President Pei, do you have any new discoveries?" My father's gaze darkened. "The laboratory at the tech company recently detected a peculiar wave, revealing new information. Chung Xing has deviated from the archetype of the sweet, naive heroine. A supernatural force is luring innocent girls to become the new leads." I barely slept that night. The next day, Chu entered the classroom with his backpack slung over one shoulder. I eagerly inquired, "Have any unusual girls approached you recently?" "How unusual?" I pondered. My mother once told me that to embody the sweet heroine, one must possess the qualities of truth, goodness, and beauty, along with a background of hardship, particularly dire poverty. Chuhi paused for a moment. There is one. I felt a pang of urgency. Then don't date her. He cast a disinterested glance at me, scoffing lightly. Why should I listen to you? Well, whoever gets close to you is bound to suffer misfortune. Familial ruin is practically a given. Upon uttering this, I fell silent, as did he. His lips curled into a cold smirk as he dropped his backpack and placed 2 lunch boxes on Chu Yuan's desk before turning to leave. Skipping class again. Realizing my blunder, I felt a wave of discontent wash over me. I was no longer the sweet heroine, but had become the wicked female antagonist. This realization struck me with alarm. Had I not escaped the narrative after all? I remained the vile antagonist, still entangled with Chu He, our relationship inextricably linked. Would I never attain freedom in this lifetime? I packed my bag and, before departing, retrieved my share of lunch from Chu Yuan's desk. I approached the office. Class teacher, I would like to take a leave. Chu He often worked part-time at an auto repair shop. A high-clearance SUV was raised to knee height by a jack. Chu He squatted beside the car, his nose dirty, resembling a wild dog gnawing on a bone.
Wrench. All right.
Just as I was about to assist him by handing over the wrench, a girl in a light yellow dress rushed over, quicker than I, to hand it to Chu He. Who are you? I noticed the girl's lunchbox contained sweet and sour ribs and omelet rice, all of which were my favorites. I'm Chen Ku, a friend of Ahi. She beamed with a gentle smile. I frowned. What kind of background warranted such a bitter name? I believed it. Chen Ku was undoubtedly the heroine reassigned to Chu He by that supernatural force. I took out my own lunchbox and sat beside Chen Ku on the curb. How did you and Chu He meet? We were in the same orphanage. I was adopted by my foster parents when I was 7. As she spoke, her gaze fell, and I noticed the scars on her wrist. A typical childhood suffering heroine. However, none of this concerned me. Being with Chu He, she would likely enjoy a prosperous life ahead. Suddenly, my phone screen lit up with a message from my father. Qingxing, the laboratory has new research findings. This world exists fueled by the suffering of the male and female leads. Their pain requires the wicked female antagonist to instigate. My expression turned complex. The suffering I was destined to endure would be transferred to Chen Ku, enabling this world to function normally. I felt a twinge of resentment towards that supernatural entity, treating me and the other innocent individuals as mere pawns. As more innocents became entangled, I couldn't help but clench my fists. I snatched all the sweet and sour ribs from Chen Ku's bowl. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Chu He dropped the wrench in his hand, his gaze dark. Lu Qingxing, what exactly do you intend to do? I don't want you cooking for other girls. You can only cook for me. Chu He furrowed his brow. Chen Ku lowered her head, silently shedding tears while hugging her knees. I was taken aback. What a delicate, pitiful flower of a heroine she was.
Indeed.
She seemed more suited to the role than I, as I had never shed a tear in my life. Lu Qingxing. Yes. Chu He took a deep, ragged breath, pulling me across to the other side of the street. Why are you bullying Chen Ku? My thoughts raced. Because Chu He-ge can only belong to Qingxing. Chu He's brow furrowed tightly. Sensing his displeasure, I escalated my antics, breaking into a song. Chu He-ge, here I come. Chu He-ge. I want to eat good food. I want to eat pork belly. I want to eat hamburgers. Chu He-ge, I want everything. Chu He's earlobes turned red, and he stumbled back, unable to resist. Lu Qingxing, if you're itchy, go take a shower. Chen Ku stood frozen across the street, watching the scene unfold between us. Chu He dragged me back to the repair shop, transferring chunks of pork belly from his bowl to mine. Eat, don't talk. I felt a sense of satisfaction. Chen Ku stammered. You and Chu He? I sank languidly against Chu He's shoulder, wrapping my arms around his waist. 2 years. Chu He shot up abruptly. Lu Qingxing, don't say anything. The light in Chen Ku's eyes dimmed. Noticing the pearls of tears threatening to spill over, I hurriedly clarified, we've been desk mates for 2 years. After finishing our meal, Chen Ku found an excuse, smiling awkwardly. I'm off to tutor students. Shortly after she left, Chu He changed out of his work clothes into a clean, tidy green sports uniform and pulled me back to school. He retrieved 2 notebooks filled with handwritten notes. These are the problems you haven't tackled. I was perplexed. Chu He frowned. There are only 2 weeks until the college entrance examination. I know. There's a countdown calendar on the back blackboard. Chu He's voice grew sharp, his eyes swirling with dark currents. If you don't grasp these problems soon, you won't be able to get into Jiang University. So what? The light in Chu He's eyes dimmed suddenly, his tone chilling. I want to attend Jiang University. Was it because Chen Ku was currently studying there? I felt a surge of joy, since Chu He and Chen Ku were attending university locally. My role as the wicked antagonist would indeed be more convenient. At least I wouldn't have to travel back and forth to play the villain. I would have to endure this miserable existence until my father could entirely sever that supernatural force, preventing it from influencing my life's trajectory. Then you can intern at my parents' company during university. I'll write you a recommendation letter. Lu Qingxing, are you deliberately trying to annoy me? Chu He inexplicably lost his temper. I decided to ignore him, knowing he would soon reconcile with himself. Chu Yuan handed me the graded papers from the mock exam, her hesitant demeanor indicating her struggle. If you need help, I can assist you. I encouraged Chu Yuan to express her needs directly. She pointed to Chu He, who was sleeping with his school uniform covering his head, and whispered, "He seems a bit unhappy." I nodded in agreement. Chu He seemed perpetually discontent. Chu Yuan appeared hesitant. "Can you, perhaps, cheer him up?" I was taken aback. Isn't the role of the malicious female antagonist merely to bring discomfort to the protagonists? I shook my head. Until a better solution presented itself, I would not indulge in actions that would ease the male lead's suffering. I had to uphold the stability of this world. After all, we cannot allow it to descend into chaos, can we? Chu He abruptly lifted his head, casting a glance at Chu Yuan, who fell silent and turned away. I was left in a state of shock. The rims of Chu He's eyes were glistening with unshed tears. "You are crying?" From this point until the end of the college entrance examination, Chu He ignored me completely. Each day felt like an unbearable trial, and once the exams concluded, I dashed out of the examination hall with my backpack. With some time before the results were released, I meandered through my father's tech company, feigning interest as I surveyed his laboratory. The lead researcher guided me to a sophisticated instrument. We have discovered that the main and supporting characters emit a unique energy wave that is intrinsically linked to the narrative. The suffering borne by those who carry this energy serves as fuel to maintain the normal operation of this world. The initial fuel was derived from your father's anguish. His pain from being paralyzed was exchanged for your mother's safety. Otherwise, she would have perished on the streets as a cruel antagonist. The suffering of supporting characters pales in comparison to that of protagonists and eventually depletes after a few years, necessitating the demise of the previous leads. The second wave of fuel can sustain us for only 18 years. During this time, a mysterious force has been eroding Chu Yuan's health, causing the alternate female lead, Chen Ku, to endure domestic violence in her foster home, while also leading Chu He into perilous situations. My fingers trembled as I grasped the implications of the researcher's words. The fuel for this world was nearing exhaustion and desperately required replenishment. Exiting the laboratory, I collapsed onto the floor. To ensure the continued stability of this realm, the most efficient and straightforward solution would be for the new male and female leads to perish. Chu He and Chen Ku, perhaps? I cradled my head in despair.
No.
It should be Chu He and me. Chen Ku had already borne enough suffering. I had been raised in the lap of luxury, enjoying a life of privilege. It was she who had borne the weight for my sake. Enough. Chen Ku should not endure any more pain. This naive, sweet-natured female lead role, I would assume it from now on. Is suffering for love considered suffering? I was too fearful to inflict pain upon myself or to starve in pursuit of it. After much contemplation, the only form of hardship suitable for the youth seemed to be the anguish of love. As long as one desired it, there would surely be an abundance. I forwarded a plethora of romantic messages to Chu He's chat bubble, concluding with a bombshell. "I have a relationship proposal. Will you accept?" Chu He did not respond all night. I fell asleep clutching my phone, and upon awakening the next morning, I found Chu He standing at the entrance of my villa. I hurried down the stairs. "Have you considered my proposal?" In response, Chu He captured me in an aggressive kiss, nearly suffocating me. His gaze was intense. As he held me tightly, "What trickery are you up to?" I coughed twice. "Having already kissed, of course, I wish to embark on an epic romance with you." I held on my phone screen. "Look like you, I too have applied to Jiang University." Chu He's eyes flickered with emotion, yet he remained silent, only tightening his embrace as if he wished to meld us together. 2 months later, I stood at the international boarding gate, dragging a massive suitcase. Just before boarding the plane, I sent Chu He a message. "Let's break up. I am going abroad for my studies." My heart raced. Was this enough to deeply wound the male lead? Would the anguish that Chu He experienced in love provide sufficient fuel to sustain the world for several years? 12 hours later, I landed in a foreign city. My phone screen displayed no messages. I attempted to send Chu-hee a penny, only to discover I had been blocked. A hurried foreigner inadvertently knocked me down. Sitting on the ground, I gazed at the dim, despondent sunset, my heart chilled as if doused in ice water, enveloped in a thick layer of numbness. My heart was filled with confusion, but utterly empty. Chu-hee, I am sorry. My father's number flashed on my screen. Ching-shing. Our company has detected unprecedented energy fluctuations. There is a significant new discovery. I responded dully, my mind involuntarily conjuring images of Chu-hee's expression. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. I fulfilled all my credits and applied for graduation. Returning to my homeland, my mother, as always, donned conspicuous sunglasses and enveloped me in her embrace. Your father has invested another $700 billion. His tech company has made substantial progress and discovered a source of energy known as the system. I looked at my father, seeking his explanation. The system resides deep within the mind, continuously transmitting signals to your nerves, confounding your thoughts and creating extreme mental loops, thereby influencing the fate of the host. The latest research indicates that the host's emotional suffering nourishes the system, serving as sustenance for its growth. At that moment, I understood. This so-called system was akin to a deranged puppeteer, orchestrating the main and supporting characters to follow a predetermined plot. The pain we experienced was not fuel for the world's stability, but rather nourishment for the system itself. I fell silent. The lives lost due to the system were likely countless. Rest well tonight. Tomorrow, I will take you to the laboratory to detach from the system, freeing you from its control. I suddenly looked up. And what of Chu-hee and Chin-ku? They too should be liberated. My father's gaze deepened, and he sighed softly. Chin-ku was the first volunteer for the detachment procedure. The surgery was successful, but it had side effects, causing her to forget those who once inflicted pain upon her. As for Chu-hee, he refused the surgery. My heart sank. The surgery had been successful. During the postoperative review, I found no trace of the energy source within my mind. I began to make frequent appearances in the business world. In the 2 years following my return, several families had expressed interest in forming alliances. Miss Liu, did you not attend a major reading event? I smiled and raised my glass. Indeed. The man across from me's eyes sparkled. There was a sailing competition where Miss Liu and I were competitors. Your elegance has lingered in my memory for years. I vaguely remembered him, though the years felt long and devoid of significant memories. The only thing I retained was an emptiness deep within. My mother mentioned that I had undergone brain surgery upon returning, resulting in me forgetting important individuals. I inquired as to who they were, but she offered no answers. Those destined to meet will cross paths again. At the end of this year, I received an invitation. My assistant insisted that I must attend this island wedding, the wedding of the sister of the newly affluent Chu, where notable figures from the business community would gather. The invitation was sincere, with a private helicopter arranged to transport guests to the secluded island. During the wedding ceremony, I was taken aback. 2 ladies in formal attire exchanged rings. I glanced at the nameplates of the newlyweds, Chu Yuan and Chin-ku. It was, indeed, a same-sex wedding. No wonder it was held abroad. They each tossed a bouquet behind them, symbolizing the passing of happiness to the next destined couple. One bouquet unexpectedly landed in my hands. I stood up and offered a congratulatory remark. Simultaneously, from the opposite side of the guest area, a gentleman in a suit rose. My breath quickened. Have we met before? His deep-set eyes quietly shook their head. After the banquet concluded, I pursued the gentleman, handing him my business card. Hello. May we get to know each other again? I am Lu Qingxing. He halted. I am Chu-hee. I may have fallen head over heels for Chu-hee at first sight. The mere sight of him ignites an irresistible urge to embrace him. Could we capture a photograph together? I inquire. Surrounding us is the shimmering expanse of the sea, where dolphins leap gracefully from the water. I pass the camera to the attendant, my face adorned with a smile as I gaze into the lens, tilting my head slightly towards Chu-hee. In the instant the shutter clicks, a force pulls me into his embrace. The warmth of his breath grazes my cheek, igniting a lengthy, delicate kiss. Upon regaining my senses, a sweet metallic taste lingers on my lips. I bite Chu-hee, drawing blood, and abruptly push him away. Such intimate contact, executed against a woman's will outside of a romantic relationship, could lead to Mr. Chu anticipating a lawyer's letter. His eyes darken as he arches an eyebrow and inquires, "Do you have feelings for me?" Just moments ago, I was smitten, but now my sentiments are far less certain. Even if I did, I would not entertain the notion of a relationship with you, I retort without hesitation. Chu-hee chuckles softly, echoing my words with a sinister lilt. You wouldn't date me even if you liked me. You truly are unwavering, my ex-girlfriend. My eyes widen slowly. Don't leave. Please elaborate. Chu-hee exhibits a certain madness. It later comes to my attention that among those controlled by the system, he is the only one who chose not to undergo the separation procedure. He holds me close, declaring, losing you equates to death for me. My tech company and his gradually embark on collaborative experimental projects, striving to devise innovative methods to sever the system's grip. Initial results have begun to emerge. One day, it shall come to pass that the cost of liberation from the system's control will not entail amnesia. The narrative concludes here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this tale, do remember to like and subscribe. Until we meet again in the next story.